what our
Okay.
investment is.
Sounds good. Well, why don't we transition the conversation to Lowe's, and we'll get into it. I'll
Yep.
give you all of my,
Great.
experience with pricing, and we can get down to hopefully a decision.
Just before we get to Lowe's, just sharing my screen quickly. Let me know. I just got this morning. So we've got trademarking for GHUS approved. I've sent them back. They need a just to know how we're using it and so forth, which I'd already sent them. So I've sent them our website now, all of our stuff. So I sent that this morning. I've got this on file, G. So yeah, trademark is approved. So all the GHUS trademarking and colours are done.
Right.
So that piece of work's been done, and now we've got till April 25 just to show them the examples of where we're using it, which we have been using it since day one. I reiterated that today. I'll pay those fees to resubmit those. I think there was 2 there, $695. We'll redo that. I don't know whether we have to do it on the 25th of April or we do it now, but I've sent them the information and said please proceed. So yeah, that's all done. So we're good with the trademarking.
It's great.
Okay, so Lowe's, my update from Lowe's is I've now had 3 meetings. I've got a meeting pending with Chris. He flew to Florida to set up, and meet with some other Lowe's executives. So he's off the air he said, look, I'm not available really for 2 or 3 weeks, but we've got a NDA signed, the confidentiality agreement signed. We've done a demonstration of GHUS. He likes it. And I suppose the next part of the conversation from where we closed off last time was as I said to you, he asked me about how we're going to price it and how we can incentivize their members and their trade members and consumers and so forth, but intimated that in his executive discussions with the Lowe's board, they want to be involved. So, and there's some opportunities around funding, growth, grant applications, all sorts of stuff that he said I will provide to you more details in our next call. So yeah, that's where we ended off. So yeah.
Okay, got it. Well, let's just kind of start at the basics, right? How do you price a commercial SaaS product in the market, right? This is obviously not an enterprise play. It's not going B2B, but in a sense, it's B2B because the contractors are there, right?
Correct.
So, it's a dynamic one, right? You have consumers and contractors in the same app.
Yeah.
The way I would normally ideate around this particular issue is I would typically try and start with as many free user accounts as possible, right? So for example, let's say you've already ideated that consumer accounts are free, but contractor accounts are paid, right? Well, you might think about starting with they're both free, right? And an easy way to do that is to do what Google does, which is just basically say the software is in beta, just tell them you're early or whatever. What Google usually does is they'll put up a little beta symbol next to their logo. They just launch every product as free because they're trying to get adoption. The value of the users telling you how they use the product is more value than the $20 you want to charge them or whatever, right? And so the adoption is really the key, and you want to get them addicted. So obviously this is some form of marketing for the contractors, right? Because they ultimately end up marketing themselves on the app, as it were. Am I wrong?
Yep, that's the plan.
So, there's a bunch of angles here, right? Because you could do like an Angie's List approach where you take a piece of the action or whatever. But I would generically just lean towards a free or a freemium idea in order to see how much you could get the users hooked. And when I say users, I'm really talking about all the users, right? We wouldn't give away free accounts to contractors just because. We give away because we want to see, do they really value it? Do Do they really get what they want out of it? Would they stay if we paid them, right? And then in a typical enterprise environment, you actually end up basically pulling the users after the beta period to say, hey, how valuable was this for you? How many customers did you get from it? Did you, was there other value, right? You have specific questions that you're trying to basically say, how much value did this provide? And how much would you pay for it without directly saying, would you pay for this, right? Then after a certain period of time, you turn on the paywall and it is what it is. Now, some people don't like that approach because you get a drop off of users and all that type of thing. So what they'll result to is they'll result to a freemium structure. So in other words, the app is free for contractors, but it's only free up to a certain amount, right? Certain time, certain amount of leads, certain amount of connects, certain amount of whatever, right? You
Yeah.
literally engineer into the code sort of this freemium structure so that you paywall them when they hit that line. And that's probably where I would start the conversation, just to get your thoughts around those ideas, because in a really early stage environment, that's typically what it would look like as a starting.
Well, I'm glad that you I'm glad that you said that, G, because when we were talking about pricing, Gus's opinion was that there was some value here. Let's get 250 contractors on it, gauge them out, and then we need to hit the set up stage subscriptions. But the challenge that I've got is that I don't think the value for the contractor who's going to pay, or the consumer who's going to use it for free in the first iteration of the model, is there until they're both there, and it's a chicken and egg situation. What I like about the I like the idea of maybe having the paywall and clipping the ticket on the potential connection or electrification or upgrade and so forth. But what I thought that would be that maybe I feel comfortable with it is targeting LOWES and saying, they've got 400,000 contractors, making it free to them for a period of time to use, but they've also got the consumer angle where we can help them connect the consumers and the contractors and I'm sure they've got a booking platform, but specifically around green, they haven't. They've told me that. So they've told me that they've got a DIY, group of consumers that they educate and help and promote products to, and they've got contractors that then do that. They had to have a contractor database because consumers are buying products and then going, I bought the product from you, LOWES, who do I get to install it? So they've been doing that for some time, and I'm sure a company of that size has got an integrated, swift operational solution. I haven't seen it. That was something that I need to look at. But what they haven't got is something on green. They haven't got the green componentry sorted. And I think that from that perspective, we could, if we said the next 12 months we can have all the LOWES guy. If you're a LOWES contractor, you can join it for free, which gives them a reason for pushing it. They're not clipping the ticket, but neither are we. And introduce it to their consumers if we can, if they are bold enough to allow us to do that from a green perspective. And then we connect the two. I think at the end of that 12-month period or whatever period that was, we could see, okay, how's this integration working and how are the consumers and contractors securing projects out of it. I like that concept, and we're not even trying to clip the ticket until we work out what the value is to them, both sides of the fence. That was where I didn't put that in our pricing proposal because I was trying to work out how to deliver a subscription-based pricing from the get-go. But I actually think it's a chicken and egg situation. I think we need both to get in there and operate for free and get some value, so we can then do that. And I know what you're saying, that, and I have been a part of programs where they're free and then they introduce a paywall. And ChatGPT did it recently, obviously, where they, it was free for everyone over a period of time, and then it was like, right now you've got to pay for it. and people like, I was typical pushback, like, oh, well, I'll just stop using it. And I stopped using it for about a month, and then I opened an account, so.
Yeah. Initially you get kind of mad, but then you realize you're addicted to it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you just go with the flow. If there's a 20% drop off, 15% drop off, 50% drop off, I don't know what that number looks like, but I sort of think I'm slightly more comfortable with that. And the pitch to Lowe's then is it's not about money. We're not trying to make money out of your consumers at this point, or your contractors. We're just trying to help everyone build green or remodel green. That's what we're trying to do. I think
Another option there, just to throw it in there, Mick, is that you could always go to Lowe's and say, listen, would Lowe's be willing to sponsor it and give us a sponsor fee, 50 grand or something small, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it free for the next year because you gave us the sponsor money, right?
Well, and that's something that he was intimating. He said, we've got grants around sustainability, and this might be something that we could, if you applied for a grant, we could get some funding to you to help educate our consumers and contractors. That's his exact words.
Oh, that would be awesome, because then you wouldn't have to ask, right? You could just get the money, offer it for free, get all the market share.
Exactly that's where Chris was already heading and intimating. He didn't use the word free, but he said we've got sustainable grants available for to make sure that technology and building materials and all sorts of stuff is coming through. So I'm just joining some dots there and simplifying what he was saying, but that's part of the next round of discussions. What have we disclosed, or we've signed and executed a confidentiality agreement, so we can show more of our plan about GHUS, but also so he can do the reverse to us. So I'm keen to find that out. So with that thinking in mind, I wanted to get clear from you what your thoughts were and get the okay to sort of travel down that road of discussion with the Lowe's guys.
I think it's perfect, man. If you could get a grant, if you could get the sponsorship, I'd be completely down with both of those. The other thing I'd be down for is, like, if you could come up with a way to gate them in like an automated fashion, meaning like maybe they sign up for free, but maybe they have to enter a credit card, and you don't build a credit card until they get a certain number of views or hits or calls or form fills or whatever the connect is, right? And you could bill them that way, a really small amount, and then you could raise it over time as the platform gets more popular. So I'd be totally down for something like that. Or to just giving it for free for a certain beta period of time, right? But the beta period of time would be that much more cool if we had, grant money, right? So all of those are acceptable to me.
Okay. I'm on the same page, using that terminology, but that's the only way to explain it. I'm on the same page. I'm comfortable with the discussion direction with Chris at Lowe's. I'm going to double down on that discussion, give him time to deal with the Florida stuff, and then double down on that discussion. There is a component that we could activate once we've got a reasonable number of users, quite simply, which is the product display. We've already had product partners. I tested those conversations. LG Appliances, American Clay Bricks. There's some modular building guys. We're all happy to pay on the app. There's a HVAC company in New York that were expanding over to the West Coast. They also they looked at GHUS a while back and wanted to pay to advertise on there. So I think that's a revenue stream that we could sort of activate as soon as we had a reasonable number of users and members. Which also Chris mentioned that if there's product suppliers to Lowe's that would be interested in placing their product on there, obviously that would be a relationship with those product companies, and that would be there would be a fee involved. So I think that would all come in relatively easy process of just going on the journey.
Right. Well, I trust you implicitly with them take those ideas and run with it. Let's land on something that we think will work, and
Okay,
that we can on later.
great. Okay, I'm on it. I'll keep you updated on my discussions with Chris. I sent back the NDA, all executed, so we're good to go for as soon as he's back from Florida. And their head office is in Charlotte. So I offered to call and visit on him when I'm next in the US, which will either be November or February, and maybe both. Which he said, I'm happy to. That'd be great. Take you on a tour. The next meeting, the next online meeting we're having is with a couple of other executives that sit in the sustainable team. So yeah, I'm comfortable taking that discussion forward. And I'm confident that I can sell the value there.
Great. Can I ask you for a favor before we part?
Absolutely.
So I'm in an event the next couple of days, and I know that we want to keep the ball rolling with the fun side, if you will. And so would you mind sending Megan an email that just says, "Hey Megan, I wanted to brief after today's call. Can we talk tomorrow? I'd love to hear more about how you can find I really want to hear more about how you can participate going forward." And I'm sure once she gets you on, she's gonna ask you what you thought about the meeting yesterday, and you can tell her what you really thought, right? But I'd love for you two to be able to talk as opposed to waiting a whole nother week for the next meeting to come around.
I'll get straight on it.
I'd love for her to, I'd love for her to be able to hear what you thought of Rich in the meeting, but I'd also love you to be able to pound her with questions about, well, if you got the land for that far, right? Can we just pursue these land leads? How she envisions us approaching those? Because she might say, well, yeah, I have the land leads, but I don't want to bring them to you because you don't have
the vertical component.
Right? Let's line up a contracting partner, whatever, right? And then you guys can solve that. But I just don't want it to go stale. I know sometimes a week goes by, but she told me she can talk tomorrow. She told me that on today's call. So if you wouldn't mind just booking something with her, I won't be able to be there, but it's totally fine. I just want you two to be able to jam if you can.
Gee, I'll take the lead on that, and I'll connect with her. I'll write her an email as soon as I get off this call, just asking to connect. Just to give you a bit of feedback on exactly and it didn't go anywhere as you suggested it wouldn't, and it wasn't the right fit, so I didn't follow it too heavily. But you remember Michael Poggy that GHUS introduced not that long ago, a few months back. He came on with all the Christmas tree lights and everything. Said, I've got all this land. I've got 2,500 sites. Blah blah blah. I've got 1,000 sites here, 1,000 sites here, and 1,000 sites there. Can you build on those sites? I said yes, we can. After I haven't told him this, but after that, we just went. I just had one of my marketing guys in the team just reach out to a series of tier 2, level 2 builders that were doing 50 to 100 homes in, I think it was Arkansas.
Right.
There was a few places.
Yeah, by Walmart. Yep.
Yeah, wherever he had the land. Within a week, I'm not joking. Within a week, in each location, we had 3 or 4 contractors fill in expressions of interest form and send that back to us. So we went out to about 10 or 15 in each location, came back to us. Yes, would love to build green homes. This is our capacity. Here's our website. Happy to work with your partner. You're happy to work under a license. We did that within 7 days. Out of the 3 locations, we had about 3 or 4 builders in each location. I didn't delve into it too much more with those builders. I went back to them and said, look, I'm the CEO. We're just waiting for the developer to confirm the actual location of the lots and the development and what stage they're up to. Thank you for your EOI, and we'll keep it on file, and we'll communicate. We've actually had one of those companies who do about 80 homes a year. So they're not small, but they're not super large, but actually further apply for fill out a franchise application. In any event, I went back to Michael and, and he's like, it sort of died pretty quickly because he was like, I need to know the cost. Well, we need to know the location of the sites and where they are and what plans you want. Oh, no, just tell me the cost of building a home. Well, I can't tell you the cost of building a home unless you tell me what you want. So I could see that it wasn't going to work out because he wasn't where he said he was. But the point I'm trying to make is, again, he had the land. As soon as we went out to market and said, we've got some building opportunity, would you be interested in building for these clients under license to green homes? No problem. That's the least of the challenges in this whole thing, is the building part.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for telling me that story. Yeah, the way
So,
Michael does it is he actually buys each lot individually once he's got the investor lined up. So he acts as a broker, but he's basically running a buy sell. So he finds a seller, but he finds an investor first that he knows will pay for it. And then he goes to sellers and basically direct mails them and gets them on the phone and says, hey, your neighbor just sold their lot for 15,000. I can give you 15.5, type of thing. And then he'll get those sellers to say, yeah, I'm in. And so he does these deals, but he's really just kind of in the middle. So there's no land ever sitting there to develop on. He has to do them all one-off. And that's
right.
And I don't know if he disclosed that,
No, not really, but I was joining some dots. He indicated that he had 2,500 lots and 15. They wanted to put houses on 1,500 of them, and they wanted to get the most out of the return on investment. I said, well, the best way to do that, from my experience, is build something sustainable. You'll get a higher yield if you rent it. You'll get a higher sale value. Do your own research. I said to him, he did his own research, came back and said, oh, great, tell me what you can do. Like, well, if you can, and the last email I had that I followed him up on was, Michael, send me the plan of the subdivisions or the lots, and if you want me to tell you what homes to put on them, I can get one of our guys to do that. We just need to do some research on what's happening in the area, what size homes, what's the demographic, but we need the lot location. Otherwise, we can't give you any feedback. We need to know which way it faces, what plan's so we can work out what design. Anyway, he didn't do any of that, so he was fishing. But the point of that story was, we got 9 builders in over 3 locations that were happy to license with us of different capacities within 7 days, or maybe 10 days. So I don't think
that helps me a lot. That helps me a lot. Just that story, understanding that, right? One thing you could do with Michael, if you wanted a follow-up at all, would be just to say, hey, Michael, I understand you've already sold these lots to many people. Why don't we just take the investors that have already purchased a lot and give them an opportunity to go vertical? How many lots have you already sold in this subdivision in Arkansas? What's the total gross number of undeveloped lots that you've effectively been able to sell an investor, right? Because now all you have to do is convince the investor to go vertical.
Yeah, and I got the feeling that's what his angle was, and no doubt he'd want to clip the ticket on that. But yeah, that sort of died. That conversation died. But yeah, I might follow him up. I haven't followed him up since he didn't respond to my last email, which was about a month ago now.
Which I totally understand, right? Is that he can be that way, but yeah, like I was worried when you were telling me the story that he was projecting too much into the future about what he can sell, as opposed to just looking backwards, right? Because some people hesitate to sell their previous customers. They're addicted to getting the next lot. And Michael's that guy. Every day he wakes up trying to sell 2 more lots. That's all he thinks about.
I agree with you, and I see that in him. And he was speaking down the road quite. And as soon as I asked I think the conversation died when I asked for the plan, the lot locations and the subdivision plan, so I could give him the feedback on the design. So, okay, so he's actually talking about something that hasn't executed yet, right? So
right, or it could be that like he just didn't have the foresight to think, oh, let's do this only with my past clients. Yeah, I could probably get you some lots of past clients, right? But he was when you asked that, he was probably thinking,
future clients.
I don't want to show, right? I don't want to show Mick my model and have him realize that I don't own these lots yet, right?
because he actually said his words were, "I own 2,500 lots." That's as you would feel. That's his play, right?
He doesn't own any of them, right? But his investors may own 200 of them, as an
Yeah,
example.
right. Yeah, gotcha.
Well, I
I'll
got to
reach
run
out
to
to
this
you.
meeting, guys, but thanks so
Yeah,
much
thanks,
for the
Jude.
update. Very helpful.
Good call. See you, mate. Bye.
Thank you too. See you soon.
Thanks, Julius.